when you have a DSP, a digital sound processor installed in your car, which is what a digital sound processor is. Control it from the front, handy for tweaking DSP settings. It's usually quite handy if you can also control it from the front. That means occasionally tweaking the DSP settings a bit. And not everyone always has a laptop with them. No, everyone always has a cable to connect, so to speak. So it would actually be pretty cool if there was some way to do that. To switch presets from the front while driving as undisturbed as possible, to adjust the volume, make it quieter or louder. Sorts of things. And actually, every DSP manufacturer has the corresponding remote control. When I unpacked the Eaton DSP amplifier, I basically showed you the remote control. The same goes for the ESX. That means there are remote controls included. ATF has a huge selection of control units. Control units that you can basically install additionally. And one of them, yes, it's not the latest model, but it is actually one that you see quite often when you're on the go, which has a lot of functions, but is still very small. And I just wanted to show you that. And it's the conductor. Yes, Audiotec Fischer Conductor. That means this thing works with any DSP from Audiotec Fischer. So, are we talking about Match now? We're talking about Helix, we're talking about Prax. This thing just works with all these devices. You can see it's not much, so it's basically just a dial. I'm just going to unpack it. Then let's take a look at it. That's definitely nicely packaged. And what we have is basically here. Yes, that's the part. And if we take another look, looking inside the packaging, we see a relatively long extension cable to actually be able to connect it somehow. I'm not interested in the cable now, so that goes to the side here. And let's take a closer look at this part here. What does that mean exactly? So there's really not much to see. I'll go ahead and take off the protective cover here. So what we see is that we have a dial, and it has some notches, which means it kind of clicks into place. We have it all around. You can see LEDs. The LEDs light up or they don't, which means the louder you make it, the more they light up. You can press down on this. When you press down on this, you can go through the different programs, which means you can change the presets, adjust the level of the subwoofer or the regular one. Adjust the level. The thing is actually quite nice. We have a completely normal Molex connector here, I think. And from the back, we see that the part has these little notches. It has a locking mechanism here. That means when you turn it, that the whole thing doesn't rotate completely. And you can really integrate that nicely. I've already seen incredibly beautiful integrations in cars, in the center consoles or something like that. You can really have a lot of fun with that. And yes, if you have a 3D printer, then you can have fun with that. And there's something really great about this because Audiotec Fischer provides models themselves that you can just download and print. And that's exactly what I did. So this model that I have right here in my hand, this is an official Audiotec Fischer model. I can plug it in here. In theory, just plug the conductor in as I want. I have the nose position up and down. That means depending on whether I want to install the part this way or that way, I can just plug the conductor in here. So now it holds firmly here, doesn't wobble or anything. And here we simply have two mounting options. That means if the conductor isn't in yet, I can just do that here. Screw two screws somehow from underneath to the center console or something like that. Basically screw it on, then put this conductor here. Just put it in. Of course, just put it in like this. And then the cable disappears back here. And then the part hangs more or less a bit in the air. And I can control the part. I can turn it. I can do everything with it. This, of course, combined with a bit of 3D printing. And as I said, the model is officially available from Audiotec Fischer for download on printables, among other things. I'll just link one. And just like that, you have a simple installation of a ATF remote, which means a remote control for DSPs and DSP amplifiers. And you can control it through that. But why should you control the taxes? As I mentioned at the beginning, different presets, which means you might have everyone hears the same preset without any significant delay so that everyone really hears it equally. you have an egoist preset where it really focuses on that. Okay, this part is really just focused on the driver. We have set the delay, we have balanced the level differences, etc. And possibly there's also a kids preset, where the music is a bit louder in the back so that the kids can really hear their audiobooks back there. Front, great. Maybe there will also be a fun setup with some kind of subwoofer or something like that. The other thing, volume, I want to touch on that briefly. So, why should you change the volume on the DSP and not on the radio, because I already have a radio and can do it without any problems. Make everything louder or quieter with my steering wheel remote control. So why should I change the volume on my DSP now? And there's actually indeed a pretty good reason for that. And that's already another thing, sound quality. You know, sound quality is definitely kind of my thing. I'm just going to take the analog route. That means when we go analog from the radio into the DSP via high level or low level, the louder it is. The radio is, the more dynamics we have in the signal. That means the more we have voltage diffs. And the more the DSP can ultimately make out of it, that means we have a nicer, cleaner signal. With the analog signal, it's when you turn it down. Is that still all good? But it might introduce a bit more noise and all that stuff. That's actually what we don't want. Actually, we want to set the radio to the max, where it's not distorted, and send a clean signal to the DSP, where it's not yet distorted. Send a clean signal to the DSP. The DSP, you can then adjust the volume up or down. Everything is fine. It gets worse in the case of digital. That means when we actually go digital, from the radio, whether it's a joying or any other radio or a high-res player or something like that. And now we're going digital, or maybe even a phone connected via USB. Anyway, we're going digital into the processor now. Then we also have the option to make the phone louder or quieter, or the processor or the joying radio. That means we can just adjust it normally and we really don't have any problems because it's all digital. Digital is nice. Digital. I always say digital is the best. But what does mean now? Because when I lower the signal now, it's not like in analog where everything just gets smaller, but everything is still there. But with digital, it's just that it depends on how many bits we're going in with. Let's say we're going in classically with 24 bits into the DSP. Then it's this 24 bits, they are distributed when we have the full volume. That means when we have the thing cranked up to the max, then we have filled 24 bits. That means then the complete dynamics that we have from the source in this digital signal. But if we make it quieter now, it's not as though we still have some volume signal in this digital signal, essentially. Instead, this volume signal just keeps getting smaller. That means we're getting a lot of zeros in there. The dynamics that we can transmit in this digital signal gets worse and worse. What's that? That means we listen at a lower volume. You can hear it at a sixth volume. We actually, and not just actually, but you can hear it clearly, dynamics and content lost. That means everything we would normally send nicely into the DSP and that would then be processed, it's all gone. These are all zeros. It's filled with zeros. We might still have maybe 4, 5, maybe even 6 bits where there's actually some information in there. And that's what it does now. Can you imagine? Not necessarily better. That's also the reason why in a competition. So, if we actually go back to the competition track and say we want to get everything out, from the system, we have the best speakers in there, the best amplifiers in there, the best DSP in there, they go in digitally into the unit. Then it would make sense to go in digitally at maximum level and actually control the volume at the DSP. If you're interested in other products like remote controls, Bluetooth adapters, amplifiers, radios, etc., then I would be very happy if you leave a subscription, because then I increase my reach and might also be able to get some deals, manufacturing or anything else. Just get on board. And then you'll also get good news with great products. Otherwise, I have put together a few more videos for you. You definitely have to check them out because they are really, really cool and you'll definitely learn something